This is the all-new Community Connection. I'm your host, Jade Harr, keeping you connected to our community. Hundreds will join the foundation fighting blindness. It's the 9th annual St. Louis Vision Walk to help raise awareness and funds for sight-saving research for retinal diseases, including retinitis pigmentosa, macular degeneration, and Usher syndrome, which will affect more than 10 million Americans. We are inviting you to form teams or walk independently at the free, family-friendly event, which will also include activities, of course, for children, refreshments, entertainment, and more. I am joined today by Mary Morgan Corbett, who is the co-chair this year for the local event. Mary, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell our listeners a little bit more about the event.
Oh, the event is a fabulous, fabulous event, and this is my 3rd year being part of it, but I know that it is integral that we have this event. It provides support for families that are affected. It provides resources, and it is just a very powerful morning full of just good people that are rallying behind each other and just there to raise awareness and raise funds for research.
Absolutely. Well, help me understand some of the need and what we're walking for with regard to saving sight and helping with retinal diseases.
Yes, there are so many amazing research opportunities happening right now. It's not a matter of, if we're going to find a cure for retinal diseases. It's when. And we are on the cutting edge of new sight-saving research that's happening for many. It's just important to raise awareness. I think vision in general, it just has just a lot of misconceptions. We feel that you either have vision or you don't. And I was one of those people that really felt that, you either have it or you don't. And those who don't have it will use a cane and will have a guide dog, and that's just kind of the conception that we all have. But really, the reality is there's that gray area that most people who have vision loss live in. And so it's educating people about vision loss and just getting it out there that it's imperative that we are raising some funds and some awareness and educating others.
Absolutely.
About it.
Well, as the research goes, you sounded more than hopeful. You sound certain that there are cures.
I am certain. I'm certain. I mean, my faith is strong, too, and I just feel that, not only is it out there and it's just very clear in the research that is shared with all of us, it's groundbreaking, and there's things that are happening, and there's actually some clinical trials that are happening for retinitis pigmentosa specifically, where, you're using your own stem cells and skin cells, actually, and they're growing your own skin cells and implanting them into the retina, and they're finding that is, your retina is accepting those cells, and some people have found that that's successful for them, and it's not a cure necessarily, but it certainly is, stabilizing or giving some people a little bit more sight than they had. So there's a lot of research that still needs to happen, but at least it gives us that hope.
That's right, and there have been some great strides and progress. So tell me a little more about the foundation fighting blindness.
Well, it has, since 1971, it has raised $600 million. It's the leading non-governmental funder of inherited retinal diseases and research.
Wow.
There's studies, like I said, using gene therapy that have restored significant vision in children and young adults, who were previously blind. There's additional clinical trials that they help fund to treat the variety of retinal degenerative diseases. There's nearly 50 chapters across the country that helps, provide support and information and resources for people affected. But it's a nonprofit organization. It's just driving the research that will lead to preventions and treatments.
So this is your 3rd year with the walk. And how have you seen things grow and change and, paint the picture, the vision of how things go on walk day?
Oh, goodness. It's an exciting day. What's really rewarding, I think, and like I said, it's like you said, too, it's my 3rd year. But my first year coming in, I was just very, a little timid, and I kind of hung on the outskirts of it and said, what is all this about? And what's neat is just every year to see our teams growing and to see that there's more teams that are finally the word's getting out there that, we can't take this for granted. It's not life-threatening. And so in some ways, sometimes, non-life-threatening illnesses or diseases kind of get pushed back a little bit, rightly so to some degree. But at the same time, it's life-altering. And so, when you have an event that's life-altering like this, it can really just stop you right in your tracks. And so to see people come to the walk and they are empowered and they are just filled with hope from other teams and just from each other, that's just what makes, any walk like this just very powerful.
Right. I'm sure you've had some great experiences and encounters with people at the walk.
Yes.
Can you share a memorable story or family or person that can really paint the picture for us to understand what folks go through?
Well, I met a man last year, I must say, and I was personally kind of toying around with, when do you really need a cane? When do you really need those tools that help you navigate and have independent mobility and such? So I met this gentleman that he was using a cane, and he just was so, it was very transparent to me. I walked up to him, I asked him about at what point, do you decide that you have to reach out and be very, brave, to use a cane and to say to yourself, it's time. And he was just very personable with me, and he just pulled me aside and said, it doesn't define you. It keeps him very independent, and his mobility is independent. What I loved about that conversation is he was real, he was authentic. He was just who he was. And you saw past that, you saw past the vision loss. And I think that's what a lot of people fear is, am I going to lose my identity in this? Is this going to become my definition of who I am? And when people see a dog with me or a cane, are they going to just see that? And I experienced it through my conversation with him, that you just, all of that kind of fades away. And, you're talking to another human. You're sharing your life stories. So there's many stories like that, and then you see little 5-year-olds that are so skilled in their cane use. They're just like, it's who I am. It's fine. And this is, my life. And you learn from that too. So it's just amazing. It's amazing.
So we may have more of a fear or discomfort than the people that are experiencing it personally.
Yes. Yes. And I found that myself. And I was diagnosed 5 years ago with retinitis pigmentosa. And nobody in my family has it. And it's a genetic condition. So it's that piece in itself is confusing. But you can have these random mutations, of course. But the whole thing scared me. And I still get points in my life where it can creep up. But then I have those encounters with people like that gentleman, or with little children who say, that's just how it is, and you just live your life and enjoy it, But until it affects you daily, until 2 years ago when I was told you cannot even consider legally driving, you don't even fit the criteria. And I thought maybe when I'm in my 70s or 80s, I would be told that. But I was 40, and I just thought, when it affects you daily in your life, it wakes you up, and it shakes you to your core to a point where you have to, A, you fall on your face, and B, that's what I did anyway, and B, you just have to rally around people that understand it and get it, and then be an educator for it and help advocate.
Sure. Now, you've been personally affected, and it's pretty powerful to hear, that it's genetic, but no one else in your family had been diagnosed. Do you mind sharing your story with us and how this has affected you? And
sure.
Kind of what happened along the way? Did you have any sight issues prior? Help us. I sound like my daughter.
No, that's okay.
Help us. Share your story with us. Take us through what happened with you.
I would be honored. I was 37, and I just went in for my driver's license renewal. And they were asking me, can you see the light, the peripheral vision kind of light on your left and right side, and let me know when you see the blinking light. And I put my head in this little machine, and I said, okay, I'm ready. You can start it. And this young girl, thank goodness she was super young at the time, she said, you're fine. It's fine. I said, okay, I guess it's just not working right. And it was never really an issue at that moment. I came home, and I just said, are we supposed to see those flashing lights on the left or right side? And my husband's like, well, of course you should. And so that kind of sparked a whole little trial at home, do you see me now? Do you see me now? And we were just playing around with it at first. I mentioned it to a friend of mine who's a pediatrician, and she said, you have to go see an ophthalmologist tomorrow. And she had this kind of urgency in her voice, and I thought, well, that's okay, I'll go.
Right.
And
she would know.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Thinking. And so I went the next day. I really did. And she sent me to a retinal specialist and sent me 2 days later. and she had an urgency in her voice, and she said she felt that it was retinitis pigmentosa. And you can see it in, like, if they look in the eye, there's a blackening around the retina, and it's cells that have, been affected and that have died off. So there's like this pigment, this black pigment. And that's just a tell sign that that's pretty much what it is. So just went to multiple people, and they said, you can experience a progression of this. You'll probably end up with maybe a pinhole of sight, central vision, that it really affects your peripheral vision and night vision first. So unless something is directly lit outside at night, I just don't see it at all. And so my central vision is about 10 to 15 degrees now. Typically people have between 140 and 160 of visual field. So, when you think of like 180 degrees, most people can see within that. And mine's narrowed to a point where if you look in like a paper towel roll, if you put 2 paper towel rolls up, on your eyes, it's about like tunnel vision. So it affects me in crowds mostly at night, or, a busy airport or a mall or something like that, when people just crisscross, in front of you and things like that. So I normally don't move very slow, but I have to teach myself to just slow down and scan everything. And but my central acuity is still, corrected, but it's still very good. So I can see like straight in front of me, but to my sides I don't have any. In upper and lower quadrant, I don't have any vision.
And so there was no indication prior to that there was anything going on other than that vision test that kind of gave you a hint.
Right.
Well, I feel like there's a difference between vision and sight. And though your vision has narrowed, I don't believe that it damaged your sight.
Right.
Or your insight, so to speak. Do you mind speaking on that? Because it seems like you've gained a depth and have adjusted to this physical thing, but in spirit, especially here being a co-chair for 3 years and lending your story and your heart to service. Let's talk about the difference between vision and sight and how that defines or doesn't define a person, and even you personally.
Yes. How much time do we have?
I know, right, girl?
This is a coffee discussion.
This is so good. I'm just I'm inspired by hearing you. See, I didn't realize that you had personally experienced, and then to know and hear, to know that first, to hear you first from the project standpoint.
Yes.
It's just, I think it's a great commentary. It speaks volumes. Yeah, so we got another 5 we can go for.
This is, I think when it became apparent that it was definitely progressing, they don't know what speed, and they can't tell you that, which is hard, I think, initially. But and once I realized it's, I can alter. We can all alter. We're humans. That's the beauty of it. We can alter our lives, and we can adapt, and we can change. It's hard, but we can do it. We're capable of doing it. And once I realized that, and I needed to be a model for I have 2 girls, 11 and 13.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And so, Mommy's not driving anymore. And, and there's these big life changes, and my husband's been phenomenal. Never once has complained about, taking me somewhere or, having to go back to the store or whatever. So they need to see that. They need to see that we can certainly continue a normal life, even though underneath you might be having these waves of uncertainty and these feelings of fear, that do creep in because, none of us know, right? None of us really know what our story's going to be. And there's this whole, you get the hand that you're dealt and that whole kind of mindset and process that we have. But at the same time, I can't let RP, retinitis pigmentosa, be the only card that I look at. I have a beautiful family and wonderful friends and a great church family, and I'm very involved. And so you got to stay on those cards too, not forget about those other blessings in your life.
Absolutely. Those are the things that we take for granted.
Yes, 100% we do. We all are guilty of that.
Yes, which I feel like that is how your sight has become keener.
It has. And, I'm a better listener. This is crazy. And I never really thought of it this way. But when I'm looking at somebody and we're talking, there's no distraction. So there's there's kind of the silver lining in some ways that, and there's something to be said about that too. Focus on what you're doing. Be mindful about where you are and what you're doing. And as far as the vision, having a vision and having sight, I think, if your heart's in it, obviously that's kind of your vision. And my heart is in in awareness. My heart is in educating. My heart is really in being a voice for those who face those challenges, any challenges, visible and non-visible. And we all have a story, we all have something that we're facing. So just advocating for people on kindness,
Yeah. I love that you said those that are visible and invisible.
Mm-hmm.
We do all have challenges.
Right.
And this is why it is tremendous that we can rally together, that we can support one another, that we can walk.
Yes. We can walk for sight.
That's
Absolutely.
right. We can walk for sight. So make sure you join us. Go ahead and send out the invitation to our listeners, Mary.
I absolutely will. It is on Sunday, September 27th. We are having it at Tower Grove Park at the Pool Pavilion. The registration starts at 9 a.m., where we have lots of fun activities. We'll have booths, bounce houses, and some booths that people can visit for resources and just some, interesting information just about vision loss and such. But we'll have face painting, and there'll be some balloon characters there, and just fun things for the kids. It is free. There'll be refreshments. 9 a.m. is registration, and the walk starts at 10:30.
Excellent. Now, you said it's free to walk.
It's free, and it's family-friendly,
rare.
and it's not like super long. It's just around the park. So, most people can do that. It's not, it's just a flat surface. There's no hills or anything. And strollers and dogs and are welcome.
Excellent.
Everyone's welcome.
We appreciate the invitation. We appreciate you sharing your testimony and most certainly the awareness that you brought to us today for our Community Connections program.
Well, I thank you. I thank you so much. What a joy to speak with you.
Absolutely. It is my great pleasure. My heart is in this, and I definitely will do all I can to support and help spread the word as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mary, is there a phone number or website that we should be using?
Well, you can get on the website. It's fightblindness.org/St. Louis Vision Walk. That'll take you right to the local Vision Walk.
Everything we need. So September 27th is the day.
Yes.
And we begin at 10:30, but come out, have a great time. Bring your family and be family for our family and friends in this community with challenges with vision, both visible and invisible. I love that. That's gonna stay with me for a long time.
Oh, good.
Certainly appreciate you. Mary Morgan Corbett is the co-chair for this year's walk, and we just thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Jade. I appreciate it.
All right, that's it for this week. If you have questions or comments or have something you'd like to include in the community calendar, you can leave a message on our message box at 314-333-8369, 314-333-8369. And for more information about our show or any of our guests, you can visit us online and listen to the podcasts at Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. And search Community Connection with Jade Harrell. You all be blessed, do blessed, and take care.